Welcome to the H.E.A.L, Help, Elevate, and Learn podcast. This podcast is a guide to healing your inner child and maturing your inner adult. This is the place where we slow down, look within, and begin the journey of restoring what was lost, silenced, or forgotten. Here, we believe that healing the inner child is not about reliving the past, it's about rewriting your future. Together, we'll uncover the wisdom, the strength, and the love you've always carried inside. So take a deep breath. You're safe, you're seen, and you're right where you need to be. Hello everybody, how you doing today? This is Sakoni Prince of SakoniPrince.com, where we make motivation personal, introducing you to yourself. And I want to welcome you to the H.E.A.L podcast. H.E.A.L is an acronym for Help, Elevate, and Learn, and it's based on my latest book by the same title, but the subtitle is A Guide to Healing Your Inner Child. We're also working on the sequel to that book, which is going to be a guide to maturing your inner adult. So that's why we're focusing not just on our inner child, but also our inner adult. And listen, I want to thank our sponsor for this particular episode, none other than BetterHelp. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, you go to their site. You can use my link, betterhelp.com/SakoniPrinceHeal. You answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who's had years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or your computer, via a phone call, a video chat, or messaging. However you feel most comfortable, it is the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started fast. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/SakoniPrinceHeal or choose Sakoni Prince Heal during your sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. Again, we want to thank BetterHelp for being a sponsor of our podcast. And if you have considered therapy and you are kind of leery about trying to do something in person, I would definitely give them a try. You can actually do everything, as I said, from the comfort of your own home. So something to consider, something to think about. Well, listen, I want to get ready to bring up our guest for today, and I am super excited. When I had a chance to first talk to him on the telephone, I could tell that this guy was passionate about what it is he does. And not only that, but he is more than knowledgeable. So I definitely had to have him on this podcast and bring him to you. So with that being said, I want to introduce you to our guest, none other than Gerry Binford. Gerry?
Yes, sir.
Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Gerry Binford. I am a professional life coach, part-time minister, family life minister at the Lakewood Church of Christ here in Knoxville. I'm a husband. Been married for 36 years, 3 kids, and 1 grandchild. Okay. And so that's who I am. Been involved in ministry and working with people. I also serve as a life coach at a place called His Way Recovery Center. So I do a lot of things like that with different people. So I'm glad to be on your show today.
Okay, well, we are so glad to have you. And we're so looking forward to diving into these questions, man, because, like I said, last season, we talked more about the inner child. But this season, we want to actually talk about not only inner child, but also the inner adult. And so let's see here. I want to make sure that we cover all of our comments here. We have a comment, and this may be somebody that you shared the link with. It's somebody, MH. Say amen, hallelujah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a friend of yours or not.
Yeah, that's one of my buddies.
All right, well, cool. Well, hey, man, glad to have you. And in fact, we're asking those that are on, if you can like and if you can share it, that would help us out so much. All right, so our first question is, what does maturing your inner adult mean to you? And how has that shown up in your personal journey?
Well, what it means to me is that you know who you are. It means that you have examined, you have seen, you have located, you have looked at your inner self. Because a lot of people don't look at the inner self. Sakoni, when you and I was talking earlier, you was talking about the inner child.
Right.
One thing that I did back when I was about 30 years old, I realized that I was not relying on my inner adult as much.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to my inner child.
Right.
What it does is makes me mature. It makes me confident. It makes me enjoy life a lot better than I ever have before.
Right.
Because I can see what God has done and what has been done in my life throughout journey.
Right.
To about my journey, I served 18 years as a college minister.
Okay.
During that time is where I learned that you're being the inner adult. That means that you are so confident that you can pour your life into other people.
That's good. That's good.
You don't have that you don't have that maturity. You're always very apprehensive about who
Right.
you talk to and how you talk to them.
Right.
Having that inner adult, that mature part of you, you don't mind pouring into people. You don't mind
Right.
sharing with people. You don't mind, giving words of wisdom without even worried about somebody giving you thank you. You just give it to them because that's what mature people do.
Right. Right.
Growing up in my community where I grew up, the older men was willing to share with us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder why, because they were so sure of themselves in the craft that they were in. They wanted me to reach the maturity that I need. And I might have something in which somebody else need to have. And so I got to be willing to share what God has given me.
Right. Right. I think one of the grandmas one who said that to a kindergarten gardener, a fifth grader is a genius.
Yep.
Because they've actually gone through some stuff, and and they know more than somebody who is behind them. And I think that all of us, we need to realize that each one can reach one.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a college professor, to be able to teach somebody or to share some wisdom. And there's one friend of mine. He said that an expert is someone who's made every possible mistake in a particular discipline because they know what not to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, mine is I give people the freedom to make mistakes. Fall.
Yeah.
Well, what are you learning from falling? Well, you learn how to get up. One thing. Another thing is you don't wallow in what you've been in.
Right.
Then you find a solution to go the next step.
Right.
If you don't fall, you never know.
Right.
And you never fail in anything. You never achieve anything either. That's a truth that I have.
Yeah. Now I'm going to say something that I want somebody to fact check me on, because my coach, Dr. Reuben West, he talked about how giraffes, they have their calves not laying down but standing up. And I mean, if you can imagine how tall a giraffe is, falling from the birth canal, hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that the mother giraffe does, once the giraffe gets up wobbling on their feet, the first thing they do is kick them right back down.
Whoa.
Because they got to get back up.
Yeah.
Because if you don't learn how to get up, you are easy prey for any predator.
Yes.
And you would think it was cruel. In fact, you would think it was something that, why are you doing that to your baby who was just born? Because she knows if they don't know how to get up after they fall, they are prime.
Yeah.
They are a prime target for a predator. And so, yeah.
And that's one thing that when I was teaching school, we had this mantra: each one teach one, and we all would know. That means that might be something I know that you don't know, but I want to make sure.
Right.
I want to make sure you know it, and we all know. And that maturity gets you there because you want everybody to win.
Right.
You don't want to be the only winner around. You want everybody to win. And I think that sometimes we miss that. But I found in every situation, Sakoni, every time I've been in a situation where everybody is winning, everybody is growing, everybody's maturing, and nobody's left behind. The Bible says, in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, it talks about the weakest link. Well, that's the one that we offer more care to and support that, because we're only stronger than our weakest link.
Right. Right.
So we have to help. We have, everybody's got to win,
Yeah, that's so true. We got another comment from Anthony Jernigan. He said the wood is on fire. Hashtag the wood is on fire. Well, let's go then. Let's get it going. Let's get it going.
Get it
Our next
going.
question says, many of us carry unhealed parts of our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
What are some signs that your inner child is still in control of your decisions today?
Oh, that's a tough. I was thinking about that one today. You know, the inner child for me. I give you an example. This thing keep falling out my ear. For me, I was born with a learning disability
Okay.
and a speech impediment.
Okay.
And as you can tell now, I don't have a speech impediment.
Okay.
But what it done for me, it made me always look to see that I thought everyone was smarter than me.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was better than me.
Right.
And it held me back for a long time.
Mm.
And when I went off to college, I studied speech pathology so I could be able to be a help. What my problem was, I became an expert, what they call expert at it. But one thing that I learned is that it still fostered me feeling less than.
Right.
And it was a professor, one of my professors, Dr. Cofield. She told me, she says, Gerry, you are a technician. And I didn't know what that meant. She said, you know how to interact with people. That's a gift. Right. He said, these other girls in speech pathology, they got to learn how to interact with people. So as a speech pathologist, what you do, you have an advantage because you already know how, and they don't. And I said, wow, I got something better than these other speech pathologists.
Right.
And so what it did at first, it held me back. It made me very timid.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does, for me, whenever I call it the 6-year-old Gerry, when the 6-year-old Gerry show up,
right,
that we got problems. Houston, we have problems. 6-year-old Gerry will show up.
Right.
This joker gonna be so insecure that he can't help anybody.
Right.
But what it's hampered me. But one thing I've learned to do is I learned how to identify it. I can see it in different situations that I'm in, even dealing with, I got a very smart grandchild. I have to, even with dealing with her, I said, man, I wasn't that smart when I was 10, but she don't need to know that, you know what I mean? And so what I do is I say, well, I'm the adult here. And even though she got some knowledge, but she don't have wisdom. And so what I've learned through life, I gain wisdom by living life and by applying the simple things in which God has given me into practice. And so what it does, that immature Gerry, that child Gerry, sometimes play a role and say, you can't do this, you can't achieve this, you can't accomplish that. And then when I said, no, I can, I'm here, I'm here, I'm doing it, when I got, I'm going rattling on, but I want to tell you this, how it helped me.
Go ahead.
When I got my master's degree, and I had one of my mentors told me this. He said, Gerry, they don't give master's degrees away. You got to have some kind of wisdom or some kind of know-it-all or to get a master's degree. I go, what? I said, oh yeah, that's right. And so the child Gerry that was inside saying, boy, you still don't know nothing. But you know what I mean? And then you have your mentor saying, boy, you know more than what you think you do. And you got to start believing that and moving towards that instead of listening to the inner Gerry.
That's true. That's true. That's true. In fact, we got a couple of comments I want to throw up on the screen real quick.
Okay.
So this is my wife. In fact, she says we all bring value in our own way. Then we have another comment from this Connie. She says, getting an education in the area, the fact that you were weak was a wise move. And that is so true, And I know we haven't had this conversation, but
Okay.
when you mentioned speech impediment, I had a stutter when I was younger.
Really?
Yes, and if you would have told me that I was going to be doing motivational speaking, standing on stage, talking in front of people, I would have said you crazy, because I never would have imagined myself being here. But I realized, and I even co-authored a book with my coach, Dr. Ruben West, and it was "Live Your Best Life: The Advantage of Disadvantage."
Yes.
And the title of my chapter was "Stop Stuttering at Life."
Oh man, that's a good title.
And I talked about how we have to be able to address the issue. We have to be able to, well, first acknowledge the issue, address
Mm-hmm.
it, and if that doesn't help, then we have to be able to attack it. And that's literally what I did. I would actually put myself in positions where I had to talk, where I had to speak. And little did I know that that amount of determination was going to lead me to where I am today.
Yes.
Anthony has posted something here. Let's see what he says real quick. He says, "What is the best way that Black men can reach back and help our younger men?"
Mm.
Okay. Well, this is going to deviate from my questions, but I want you to answer that, and I'm going to chime in on it as well.
Well, one of the way is I have this is the way I have, this is my saying in life, part of
Okay.
life, is one thing that you have to do. You have to find you a smarter person, a mentor. You got to have a mentor.
Right.
And because you got to have somebody that you can ask questions and bounce things off of. As I get older, it's being kind of hard to do because I'm the old guy now.
Right.
But you got to have that. Then what you got to do is that you got to reach back and you got to help that person mature in their every right. That means that you got to, as the young people say, you got to have that ride or die.
Right.
For that person, you got to be able to give back to them and help bring them up to where they can possibly be. Because if we're not reaching back, we're not really helping. All we're doing is what we're doing to our community is we handicap in our community.
Right. Right.
Because if you just keep it to yourself, because somebody's helping you, and then you got to go help somebody else. Then the other one is you got one in the middle in there. In the middle, you got to have somebody right around your same age going through the same stuff you're going through, so y'all can compare notes. Because sometimes we think we're the only ones that are going through something.
Right.
Come on now.
Right.
You think you're the only one going through it. You ain't the only one going through it.
You're right.
As getting older, my knees crack. And I was just talking to a friend of mine just a while ago. I said, man, sometimes I get up and it pop. I hope it pops back. I said, yeah, I can relate to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're keeping yourself honest there. You're getting your wisdom there. And then you're reaching back and bringing someone back up.
Right. Right. Well, and I definitely agree with everything that you said. And I even, believe it or not, I wrote a book entitled, in fact, Leadership That Lasts, passing on 10 solid principles to ensure an enduring legacy. And in that book, I talk about identifying somebody who is ready to receive.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of people, they need your help, they need your advice, they need your input, they need your mentorship, but they haven't hit their head against the wall enough to be open to receive it.
Yeah.
And you can waste your time. You can actually get frustrated and get tired and want to throw in the towel trying to give something to somebody who is not open.
Yep.
A couple of years ago, I had a chance to speak at the retirement of a good friend of mine, and I started off by talking about the quarterback. I said the quarterback on a football field he's the team lead. He calls plays, and he's actually the leader on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but the next, possibly, in fact, the next most valuable player was a wide receiver, because his job was to get downfield and get open so the quarterback can throw the ball.
Yes.
And then I used that analogy about football to talk about me and the guy that was retiring. I said, and I called him a quarterback. Now, he didn't look anything like a quarterback, but I prefaced it by saying that every now and then I will need some wisdom. I will need some insight. I will
Mm-hmm.
need some direction and some guidance. And I would come knock on his door and say, hey, in fact, do you have a second? Yeah, come in and sit down. So I would sit down. I would tell him the situation I was going through. He would sit back in his chair. He would gather his thoughts. And then he
Mm-hmm.
would throw me some wisdom.
Yes, sir.
But the only reason he was really able to do that because I was like, hey, I'm open.
I'm
I'm
open.
open.
That's right.
And that's what
I like that.
happens even in the
I
football
like that.
games,
Yeah.
especially in fact when a wide receiver has gotten away from their defender, they start waving their arms like, hey, I'm
Yes.
open. I'm open.
Yeah.
And we have to look for those individuals. And believe it or not, while at his retirement, I challenged everybody in the room. I said, some of you people in this room, y'all are quarterbacks. Y'all
Yeah.
have wisdom and insight and stuff that y'all can pass on to the next generation. I said, some of you in this room, you are wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You need somebody to throw you the ball, but in order for that to happen, you have to tell them, hey, I'm open. I'm open.
Yeah.
So I want to identifying those individuals who are open, those individuals who don't have distractions, those individuals who won't let the word that we share with them get choked out by everything around them. Those are the individuals. And this is to answer the question. I would identify those because those young men they can be that lateral encouragement for the ones in their group.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
You know,
Great question.
another thing to go along with that is that
Uh-huh.
I was talking to a group of men about a couple of weeks ago, and I said that imagine that you have 3 jugs in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
One is full, one is
Okay.
half full, and one is empty.
Uh-huh.
So if you go pour yourself into a full jug, what happens? It overflows.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you pouring in, guess what? It's not staying.
Right.
Go to the middle one. You stand a chance that the middle one is halfway full, so you can halfway give them some stuff if they're willing to take it.
Right.
Then you have the one that's empty. You have the empty jug.
Mm-hmm.
I say an empty jug is there because what you're trying to do, if you come there with an empty jug, you want somebody to pour into you.
Right.
And
Right.
what they pour into you is going to stay because it's empty.
Right. Right.
So you're not coming there with no vices or anything. You come in there with an empty vessel,
Mm-hmm.
having somebody pour their lives and their input into you so you can grow.
Right.
And what going back to what you're saying, Sakana, being the wide receiver, we have too
Mm-hmm.
many young people that's full of jugs coming in for advice.
Ooh, yeah, that part. That's the
And then,
problem.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you got that full jug, man. You like you say, you get frustrated. Say, man, I'm giving this guy the same thing I gave the other
Yes.
one, and they ain't receiving it. What's wrong with it? And one guy I told him, I said, your problem is you got a full jug. You
Mm.
got, but here, Mr. G, I hear you, but I'm no.
Yeah.
But son, you don't know. You don't know. I'm 62 and you're 25. Come on now.
Right. Right.
Let's get
Yeah.
real,
Yeah.
And so you got to be able to identify, like you say, those empty jugs that really want somebody to pour something into them.
Right.
So you
Right.
won't be wasting your time. And wasting their time, you wasting your time as well.
That's true. That's true. All right. So the next question is, how can someone begin to recognize the difference between reacting from their inner child and responding as their inner adult self?
Boy, that one fits me. Because I told you I got 6-year-old Gerry. It talks all the time. Well, you over here, you way over here. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Yeah, no, I'm not. Yes, and and so you have that inner Gerry, which is a 6-year-old Gerry, sometimes try to talk me out from moving forward.
Mm.
And what the younger Gerry, the child Gerry inside of me is scared and nervous,
Right. Right.
and just anxious about everything that's around him, just afraid that somebody's gonna find him out. That's
Right.
that young Gerry. But the adult Gerry said, "Man, we already overcome that. Let's go." You know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes when you're facing something new, like when I started my business, follow through coaching, When I started that, the young Gerry said, "Man, you over your head, dude. Man, you need to stick that job out. That church paying you money. You better stay with that church. What are you doing going on your own self? You're gonna be broke. Connie gonna be mad. The wife gonna be mad." And
right.
but the adult, mature Gerry say, "I have enough knowledge and wisdom to help somebody, and I want to go on it on my own.
Right.
And fail or succeed, I take the step."
Right.
The child Gerry stays stagnant, don't go anywhere because he's afraid to move.
Right.
The mature Gerry say, "What I got to lose? Let's go."
Wow.
And so that plays a lot with me. Like yourself, Sakoni, you had a speech impediment. People made fun of us.
Yep, they did.
There was our running joke. Let's get Gerry to say something because he can't talk. You get to laugh at Gerry. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I stand in front of the audience, and I preached at the church a couple of weeks ago. And I said, "Man, I can't believe." I was preaching. I said, "Man, I can't believe these people listening to me." Okay, they hear me. You know what I mean? I'm right in the middle of a sermon. But the thing is that mature Gerry now has overtaken the child Gerry, the immature Gerry, and he says, "Don't let it dominate. It's there. It's gonna be there."
Right.
But the mature Gerry say, "Man, I'm not gonna let it dominate because I know who I am. I know what God has had me here on this earth for. I know that the wisdom, the knowledge that God has given me, He's given me to give it to somebody else. So I just can't keep to myself. So I step out on faith. I do a lot of stuff. Let's go. That's where I am.
Yeah.
And if I fall, I can get up and I can go. And it doesn't bother me. Even when I fail, I say, "Well, at least I gave it a try." That's how I approach it. That child Gerry and that mature Gerry, they battle. It's a battle.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes make a coward out of you sometimes too when you give into it.
Well, it really depends upon who you hand the keys to.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's so true. I tell people all the time that they said that the number one fear in the world is public speaking. And honestly, and I'm not just saying this, but I'm afraid not to.
Oh.
I'm afraid not to. And that's not from a place of arrogance, but it's from a place of truly understanding, and I'm a firm believer in the scripture, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yes.
And I've taken the time to do the inventory, to understand what God has given me and what He's placed in me. And because of that, I can't go somewhere and sit down. I can't go somewhere and be quiet. I have to do what God has called and given me to do. And in this time, in this season of my life, it is helping people to understand that there's more in them.
Yeah.
But sometimes what's holding them back is them.
Yeah.
And like you said, little Gerry is in there telling you what you can't do. But and I love what my guest said last week. She said in those moments, she asked herself, "What do I need? What does the little version of me need? Do I need to speak up for myself? Do I need to remove myself from the situation?"
Yeah.
And she took that approach instead of silencing or pacifying or pushing away that inner child. She's learned to make peace with it by giving it what it needs. But as her adult self, she acknowledges it. Okay, I'm afraid, I'm fearful, I'm doubting myself. What do I? Okay, I need to remind myself of what God has allowed me to learn and all the things I've accomplished. I need to meet that inner child need so I can step out and move forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned scripture. Do you remember what he told Jesus? What he told God?
Yeah. I'm slow of speech.
I'm slow of speech.
I can't talk.
I can't talk.
Right.
Jesus said, Jesus probably said, "Come on, man. I gave you your voice. Come on, what you doing?" You know what I mean?
Right.
You look at Gideon. You think about Gideon, one of the judges. You look at Gideon. Oh man, Gideon was in a wine cellar
bruh.
You know,
He was high.
he
Yeah,
was high doing this week, and God said, "Hey, you're gonna be a leader, huh?"
mighty man of
Me?
valor.
Yeah. And so we look at that, and you know, since I've been a Christian and really looked at Scripture, you know, when God puts something in front of you, He gives you everything that you can accomplish with it.
Yeah,
It's nothing.
yeah,
Stepping out, you know,
yeah.
being a speaker. I never imagined myself, you know, being a speaker or being a leader of any sort, because when I was younger, I always cowered back. So I tried to be invisible. You know, ever been that way? That
Mm-hmm.
nobody knows I'm here. They won't say anything.
Right,
It went from that to being, you know, I like to be up front. You know,
right, right.
I like being up front. I li- I'm I like a sense of humor. You got to have a sense of humor to live in life.
For
So the
real.
person I laugh at the most, I laugh at me.
Yeah,
I tell more stories about me and my mess ups. But what it does for me, it relaxes me and say I'm human.
right, right.
God has prepared me for where I am. And I like what you said earlier. God has prepared us. He got us.
Yeah,
Why not? Why not speak? I'm afraid not to speak. Yeah, I like
yeah,
that. What you said.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. We got a comment here from Connie. Says, in fact, nothing beats a failure but a try.
Yes, sir. You speaking my mama's language.
Man, nothing beats a failure but a try. But a try. Thank you, Connie. All right. So our next question is: in your experience, what role does forgiveness of self and others play in the healing and maturing process?
Well, back when I was 30 years old,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest problems I had and had to overcome was my anger.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
so I had to understand. They say, Gary, you're a college minister. Why you have so much anger inside of you? Well,
Mm,
the anger came from the fact of young Gary being so never validated is validated. I never got validation that I
right,
was smart and stuff like that.
right.
The anger came from people talking down or talking as though I went in the room.
Mm,
And so one thing I had to learn to do is that I had to make my anger my ally. And I read this book, is that you got to identify what makes you angry and why you're angry.
mm,
And so what it did for me, and this is a true thing, what it did for me, it made me go back and deal with, like the lady time, I had to deal with Gary, that young Gary,
right.
and tell them that no, that's not who you are. You're
Mm,
not that person. What
mm,
you are is actually you are is what God exactly made you for and made you what you are right now. So when I
right.
identified the anger, what was making me angry, then I had to go back and identify the people and say things to them. The book was so interesting. It says go back, even if they did, write a letter to them.
Right, right,
Write the letter. I said,
right.
write a letter. That's dumb. How can that help me? But what it was is writing a letter telling them how they hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
how they disappointed you, and tell them. And in the letter you say, I forgive you.
Mm,
And I did that with reluctantly. I did it, but
right.
man, it works
Yeah.
because it liberated me to the point that I could forgive myself for not trusting me. And
Right.
so what it did for me is that it taught me that you cannot let anything in your past hold you back.
Mm,
One of my favorite scriptures to use is Philippians chapter 3, verses
okay.
14. It starts in verse 12. And Paul says, I'm paraphrasing, it said, one thing I do is forgetting what's behind and
Right.
straining towards ahead. I press on towards the goal in which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus.
Right.
Well, if I'm going to continue to look back here, that past is going to pull me right back where I was.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Right.
forgiveness there, I can leave it there. It's not like forgiveness work for me. This is my definition is I still remember it, but it don't control me anymore. because I've let it go. I've unleashed it. It's no longer controlling me.
Right.
And so what I had to learn to do is I had to learn to forgive myself when I didn't step out. And then I had to forgive the people who tried to put me down and pull me down. And you can remember those people. I don't care who it is. You can remember who those people are. That's always saying, that boy's dumb as rock. He ain't gonna never make nothing. Okay, that's good. I'd send him a copy of my degrees every time I get one. But
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or I prove them wrong to myself that I'm achieving. So what I try not to do in that, I try not to. So this thing keep falling in my ear. I try not to look back where I used to be as much as possible, only for reference of a lesson learned. Right. I try not to look to where something that caused me pain and disappointment to the point that I'm letting it cripple my present, which is gonna cripple my future as well if I do. Right. And in my line of work, as a life coach, working especially with a drug rehab place, man, let me tell you how many times that they pass has just crippled them. They have done so many crazy stuff in their lives. And they say, well, I just can't become anything. Okay. I'm an optimist. Yes, you can. Well, I did this. So I can tell you some things I did too, But what you're doing is I try to stay in the present as much as I can, the presence and the present as much as I can, so I can understand and navigate my future. Right. If I let my past failings of people saying things about me or put me down, if I stay back there, that's where I'm going to be. Somebody's going to always try to help, I'll be poor Gerry. Somebody got to help Gerry all the time. I'm not that person. Right. I'm not. Right. I'm gonna go get it. I like to go get it. Okay. And in my preaching, my teaching, my counseling, my marriage, is just just flowing with that. What God got for me today, not what happened to me tomorrow. What God got for me today, so I can move forward. Right.
Well, that. Well, yeah, and actually, in fact, there were a couple of things that you said that really stood out to me. And one of them is a quote by Dr. Maya Angelou, and she said that people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. Mm-hmm. And when you consider people that talked about you or put you down, I'm quick to say that emotions highlight certain parts of our life. Yep. If you want to be unforgettable, have an emotional experience with somebody. Now, that can be a positive or negative. Yeah, because there are some people's names, as soon as you bring it up, you immediately get mad and you immediately get upset because of the negative emotion associated with that person. Yeah. But there are other people, as soon as you bring their name up, you immediately think about them because of the positive emotions that are associated with them. Mm-hmm. In fact, the other thing that you mentioned, and I even talk about this in my book, about reparenting yourself. Yep. You can go and you can give your child version of yourself what you didn't get as a child. So you can be there for them. So you can actually be that protector, that validator, that person that encourages them. You can be that for yourself. Yep. And the other thing that you mentioned, and I even talk about this in the book, I talk about writing it, reading it, and releasing it. Oh yeah. And see, most of the time, especially for us men, because women, they'll journal, they have little notepads and books everywhere. We don't want to write all our stuff down, have somebody find it. No, we don't need you to be reading all that. Yeah. So that's why I in the book I said, if you got a fire pit, you got a barbecue grill, just write it down. Go outside, read it, and just set it afire. Just put it out and just burn it, and that allows you a chance to really release and let it go. So that is, that's, in fact, to me, that's an important part of healing. Who is this on here? With Bon Bon. That's my poppy.
That's my grandbaby.
That's your grandbaby. She's tuned in. Hey, Bon
Yeah,
Bon.
yeah.
Yeah, we're glad to have you on here.
That's my girl. One thing I want to say too, Sakani, to follow up what you said there, which you burning it, getting rid of it, as a validation. Now I tell guys all the time, in counseling, is that it's three things you can do with it. You can mail it, you can burn it, or you can bury it. But when you mail it, whatever three you choose to do, guess what? It's gone. And it no longer have a control of you. You let it go, you release it, and then you can move on. You let go of that dead weight so you can be able to live on. And and it's hard, Yeah. I like to have burn parties, not burning books, but I like to burn parties.
Right.
And burning things that doesn't matter, because we have so many people that's controlled by past hurt, pain, and disappointment. And you got to be able to have a point where you got to move on. You got to forgive it and go on. You just got to go on, Right. What's happened has happened. Let's go,
Right.
And my mom, I can put a plug in for my mother. She's been dead and gone 15 years, but I can put a plug in for mom. Mom never let me wallow in my sorrows and disappointments. She always looked at me and she always told me, she said, you can become whatever you want to. When you let a person tell you what you can't be, then that person controls your life.
Wow.
But if you believe that, then they got control. But as soon as that person tell you that, and you have a thought in your mind, say, man, I don't believe in, then now you got the power. They don't have the power.
Right.
So I remember that when I was 9 years old, my mama told me that.
Okay. Well, hats off to mom. We're so appreciative of her. Hey, man, listen, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to wrap up these questions. So hold on a second.
All right.
From my coach, Dr. Ruben West. He does an annual trip to Nairobi, Kenya. I went with him back in 2023. What an amazing time, an amazing trip. And for those of you who are wondering, well, yes, Sakona, in fact, you're saying that, you can go to my website, SakonaPrince.com. On the banner or on the front page, you'll see that there is a graphic that says Impact Tour, Nairobi Impact Tour 2023. And you can actually chronicle my flight there, the actual, in fact, safari that we went on, the speaking events, the gala, everything. It was amazing. And we've had a chance to speak at Parliament. So I want to thank him for that. So yeah, it's an amazing trip. If you're ever considering going to Africa, definitely I would encourage you to go to thebesttripever.com, or you can just reach out to me. I can get you in contact with him. You definitely want to be a part of his next trip, which is going to be coming up in July of next year, 2026. So now you have a chance to make your decision. We got one other commercial because I'm talking about the sequel of the book I'm writing. Then we're going to get back to finish up these questions. So check this out.
All right.
You've taken the first step. You've learned to heal. Now it's time to go deeper. The journey to maturity doesn't stop with awareness. It grows with action. In this powerful sequel to H.E.A.L, You'll uncover new strategies to elevate your mindset, strengthen your emotional resilience, and step fully into the adult you were always meant to be. This is more than a book. It's a blueprint for transformation. Are you ready to rise? The next chapter of your growth starts now. Available soon on Amazon.
Right, and that's going to be the book that we're coming out with first quarter of 2026. I'm telling you, you definitely want to get a copy of that. It is going to be as amazing as the current copy. And I'm not just saying it because I'm writing it. I'm saying it because honestly, I have sold more copies of of H.E.A.L than I have all of my other books combined, my other 5 books combined.
Yeah.
And that says to me that there's a need that people have, and they're starting to realize that they may have some current day behavior that was seeded in their childhood. So yeah, when I come out, definitely grab your copy. So last 3 questions, man, and even call it a night.
Okay.
So the next one says, what particular daily habits or practices help nurture both healing the inner child and strengthening the inner adult?
One of my habits is praying. I make sure that I talk with God every day. Another habit that I have that helped me, I write down all my positive affirmations down. I look at my positive affirmations. Those positive affirmations let me know these are the things I do as well or better than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at them so I can, to the point that I got to memorize. I don't have to write them down anymore. Another one is just being truthful. Just being true to myself.
Mm.
I know that for me, we have certain limitations. We have certain things that we can do and can't do. I'm just truthful about it. I don't desire to be the best auto mechanic in the world. Matter of fact, if you're the Gerry Binford fix a car, don't get in that car. Please don't get in that car, man. That thing might blow up on you.
Okay.
But if you know that Gerry Binford can come down, sit down with you and walk you through grief, walk you through stuff like that, I'm there. I'm your guy. Okay. And I'm truthful to myself with that right there. Okay. So those are the things I do every day to make me realize that I'm a vessel for God, so God can use me in my day to day.
All right, cool. I'm gonna pop up a couple more of these questions or comments here.
Okay.
Dr. Charles Dent, he says, "Is it that easy?" And I know he was referencing something we said earlier. Dr. Dent's going to be on my show. He actually wrote the foreword to my book. He's a good friend of mine. I mean, really impactful and powerful individual. And I know his questions are not just one question. They lead into a whole forest of stuff. So we're going to get you on the show, Dr. Dent. So don't worry about that. Next up, we got Mr. Wonder Graham. He says, awesome. And also 2026 goals. Hey, in fact, Mr. Graham is the one that actually connected me and Gerry. And so I appreciate him for that. The next comment we have here is coming from Lakewood Church of Christ. He says, great dialogue and much needed. Okay. Man, I'm glad somebody's being blessed by this. All right, last 2 questions.
Okay.
In fact, the next one says, can you share a personal breakthrough moment when you realize you are no longer controlled by past wounds, but guided by maturity?
When I preached my first sermon.
Okay.
Back in 1984. Back in 1983.
Okay.
93. I'm sorry. 93. I was able to get up, present a lesson that was for me, it was well thought through. I was able to articulate exactly what I needed to articulate, and not only that, I wasn't worried about what other people had to say about it. What I said. I had a good mentor at the time. H.E.A.L Miller said, you're gonna give this sermon. I didn't want to give it. He said, Gerry, you got to give this sermon. And I said, and he said, and this is what you must ask yourself when you get through. That sermon is not always going to be for everybody in the audience,
Right.
but it might be for one. And they say, if somebody come to you and say, hey, Gerry, I didn't get anything from that sermon. They say, it wasn't for you. It wasn't for you.
Right.
So when I was able to deliver that, and people coming out of the church and they saying different things to you, I was able to say to a lady, that sermon wasn't for you. I'm sorry you didn't get it today, but that sermon wasn't for you.
Right. Right.
That gave me a breakthrough of understanding that that's the mature Gerry that's working through that. It's not the child anymore.
Right. Right.
Believe that God can and He will, and He can use you in any way that He wants to use you. So
right.
that was huge.
Right.
For me.
Okay. But the next question, or should I say the last one, it says, what encouragement would you give to someone who feels stuck in old patterns and unsure if real healing is possible for them?
The advice I would give them is that if you're stuck in an old pattern, that means that you're stuck in your past. You can't be stuck in your past. You always got to look for someone that's going to help you.
Right.
And a lot of people don't do that. They don't reach out for help. I would tell them, find someone, find that more mature person. Find someone that you set and you'll watch them, and they're doing the very thing that you want to do. Go ask them how they do it, and let them be able to guide you through it. Because the only reason that you're not doing it because you don't know how to do it, or you're too afraid to do it. So I would tell that person, hey, go ask somebody to guide you through. Number two is that it's nothing wrong with you being transparent with somebody. You got to be transparent. They got to see you. And the only way that you can get the necessary help that you need is just being open. I don't know. You know, like buying a lawnmower. I'll give you an example. Buying a lawnmower. I know how to buy a lawnmower. My dad never bought a brand new lawnmower because he always fixed things.
Right.
So I'm going to buy a brand new lawnmower. I know how to buy a brand new lawnmower. So my neighbor had one. I said, hey, how did you buy that lawnmower? He said, are you kidding me? I said, I'm not kidding you. My grass needs cutting. I need to buy a good lawnmower. And you know what he said? Come and go with me. I'll show you. So back then he took me and we walked through all the different brands and stuff like this. And don't buy this cheap one. That's too cheap. Buy this one right here. You want a mulch one. I didn't know no difference in a mulch lawnmower and a regular lawnmower. But what he did is he took me and he showed me how to purchase a lawnmower. And so I had to step out and ask somebody, don't be afraid and be open about it. Because he thought it was funny because he said, you joking. I said, no, I'm not joking. I'm being honest. You know what I mean? And so you got to be transparent.
Right.
And so those are two things I would say to anyone is that, you know, find somebody. Gotta find somebody. Don't be afraid. And then when you find them, be open, be transparent. Because
so in other words, you got to be an empty jug.
You got to be an empty jug. You going back to that? Yeah, you got to be the empty jug.
It's called a callback, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. You got to be the empty jug. When you're the empty jug, they start filling you with stuff.
Right.
And so going back to Abe, I talk about Abe Miller a lot. He was a minister that I worked with when I was a young preacher, and I was the college minister at Indiana State University. And Abe came to me and he said, GB, you've got to learn to do ministry out of the strength in which God has given you. Stop trying to be like me. Stop trying to be like everybody else.
Right.
He said, I'm going to show you how you can use it. So he took me and he showed me and he set me up a lot of times. I can't get over and speak at this place. Could you go speak at it? Hey, I'm not going over there. I said, there's a bunch of old white people over there. What I'm going over there for? He said, oh, half of them can't hear you. Just go and preach. So I would go over there and teach hard, just teaching hard. I was just sweating. And then he'd come back and say, why they send that Pentecostal preacher over there? And he said, that Pentecostal preacher is this is my assistant preacher. And he go, oh, okay. But he did things to pull me out of my comfort zone.
Right. Right.
He knew if he had to ask me in advance, I wasn't going to do it. But when he
Right.
tricked me, I call it tricking me. I can't get over there. I'm stuck across town. Go over there, get this, go there and do that. And I would go and do it, you know.
Yeah.
And so he was a mentor that taught me how to preach, taught me how to be myself and be comfortable in being myself.
Cool. Man, listen, we've got a ton of comments, and if we take the time to answer all these, we're going to be in here till 9 o'clock. So,
Okay.
and the comments that are coming from the individuals, Dr. Wendell Graham and Dr. Charles Dent, y'all get ready, because y'all gonna be on the show. Y'all gonna be on the show, and we'll have a chance to cover all of those questions and everything that you've done. But listen, man, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for all that you do. If somebody wanted to connect with you, how could they do that?
It's two ways. You can connect to me with my phone number, area code 256-508-9407. On my website, I want you to go to my website. It's followthroughcoach.com. That's followthroughcoach.com, and go there and see what I have to offer. And also, you can email me at Binford.Gerry, that's Gerry, at gmail.com. So those are the ways that you can get a hold of me, and look forward to hearing from you. I appreciate this, man. I like this, being on, chatting it up with you.
Well, man, you are so welcome, and I know that somebody that tuned in definitely got something out of it. And listen, like I said, if we went through all of the comments, especially from Wendell and Dr. Dent, in fact, we'll be here till 9 o'clock. But I'm gonna hit them up a little later. But anyway, with that being said, we want to thank y'all for tuning in to this week's episode of the H.E.A.L, Help Elevate and Learn podcast. And we look forward to seeing you next week. But I got to get out of here with none other than my sizzle reel. So until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good night.
Well, my name is Sakoni Prince of SakoniPrince.com, where we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. I'm a motivational speaker, a trainer, and a coach. I'm also an author. I help people in the area of personal development and leadership development, because I believe that you can't lead others until you learn how to lead yourself. But once you learn how to lead yourself, the next logical step is that you lead other people.
Sakoni Prince is the best keynote I've ever seen.
He really encouraged me so much.
He has this ability of seeing in people what they don't see in themselves.
He was so confident. When he was coming to the stage, you could see like, wow, this is a lion.
Any actor that's going for a role, they do a case study. If I'm going to be a fry cook, I go to a restaurant and watch people that are fry cooks. If I'm going to be a mob boss, I go and, well, maybe not go to where the mob, but you take some notes as to what they do. Our children are watching us. What can they reference when they step into our shoes? I do what I do because I believe that people have truly yet to understand their purpose. Once you know who you are, nothing can stop you. But until you know who you are, anything can. So my goal is to really help people to understand their purpose and their calling. And oftentimes they have the answers themselves, but they're not asking the right questions. So I help people to get to that place to where they look at themselves, they step back and they see how they've been a help to those around them and what really drives them. And from that, they really understand the value of it. They learn to value their value and see what value their value brings. Because a lot of people, they have yet to do that.
Until you know who you are, anything can stop you. But once you know who you are, nothing can stop you. I want you to understand that you are blessed. That you are blessed to be a blessing. That there is somebody looking up to you. They're looking at you. Don't ever forget that. Because if you ever do, you're going to leave them without a mind.
I've learned so much, and I've experienced a lot of interactions with people.
The practical approach, like you can't just sit down there, you have to walk up to an opportunity. Sometimes you have to grab the opportunity. Sometimes you have to fight for the opportunity. There's so much life lessons.
I think from today onwards, I'll stretch out and reach to higher levels.